first responders. And she said that they were white as ghosts. They couldn't even hold a cup of coffee. They were shaking so bad, and they did. They told her, they said they had to tell somebody, they had to talk to somebody about it, and she was the school teacher, and that everybody knew, and brilliant woman, smart as a tack. And she told me this story, and she said, these are good old boys, honest as the day is long. She said they were far too upset. They saw something, and that's what they said. They said they saw bodies, and they weren't ours, and it just turned their whole world upside down.
It's a story that has been told, and you can't hear it enough. One of my other friends is Don Schmidt, who's spent a number of years almost living in Roswell, it seems like, and has heard these kinds of stories. Although yours, by the way, is, I hope you've told it to Don, or, have you? Have you passed this information on to Don for his research?
No, I've told it before several times.
I really think, they're trying to bring closure to the Roswell case because they are now chasing the Undertaker. The last direct witnesses are pretty much gone, and now it's sons and daughters and so forth. He should hear that story, but the point is, nobody on their deathbed seems to ever confess to it being a weather balloon. That just isn't what happened. Obviously, something extraordinary happened there, and one of the things I think Don has done so well with his Roswell research, and also Stan and others, many others, is that they've by giving the credibility to the Roswell case, by doing the shoe leather and the hard research, what they've done is, if you accept that Roswell was a true event, that was something not of this earth, then that's it, man. Then you gotta try to put the pieces together for to make sense of the rest of the pieces, but you can't dismiss them all because something's going on here, and I think that's where we all are starting to simultaneously. We're all moving forward in that consciousness raising, as you discussed earlier, and that's why Richard and I believe that, as we said, there's been 10,000 books trying to prove that UFOs are real, but this is not one of them. What we're trying to do with AD After Disclosure is change the dialogue away from that defensive posture that UFO writers have had to live with, where they have to sort of try to prove their case to the skeptics. And we try to write a book that is not for those skeptics. We're trying to write a book that says, if you have paid any attention to this subject at all, then you know there is truth beneath it. And we want to write a book that allows us to start thinking about what's going to happen next. What are the next stages for our society? Instead of looking to the past, we want to start looking to the future.
Definitely. I've always said that here on the show. I said, let's get our heads out of the past. That's the whole program. Get it cranked back into the past and then keep it far, far away.
Right.
And it's no longer in the past. It's not far, far away. It's happening now, and with some people it's face-to-face. And we should start getting into that information, not so much as are they real or do they exist, but who are they and why are they here, and start taking it
in
to the next level.
The one thing that journalism teaches in journalism schools is the purpose of a newspaper, a daily newspaper or a nightly newscast, is to answer the essential question to the audience or the reader, which is, are we safe?
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So in any disclosure event of any kind, the number one question that the public will want answered and will demand to be answered is, are we safe? And you can't answer that question unless you also can answer, or at least begin to answer, who are they and what do they want? Now, I understand that your beliefs are primarily that they're benevolent. Would that be accurate?
No, actually, I believe all the above.
Yeah, I think that where Richard and I came down is what you just said. It seems the evidence is mounting that there is not a single type, and that's also why we call them the others, that there seems to be a multiple visitation scenario going on right now, and not all of them probably have the same agenda. In fact, trying to figure out the agenda is difficult. Although you tell the story of the Native Americans and the healing and so forth, well, that's clearly a more positive agenda. Although, again, it's an agenda that has been lived out in the shadows and in secrecy. In other words, the one thing that our breakaway group and the others have in common is that they both appear to have wanted secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is an interesting situation to mull in your own brain from time to time, which is, if anybody wanted this to be public knowledge, it would have been over a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously, the people who are managing the secret had reasons not to tell. And it could be that they feel that the truth is scary, or it could be, as you've talked about with the oil economy, it could be they're protecting certain established interests. It's unclear as to which, and it might be both. But the other thing you can say is these others have had ample opportunity to disclose themselves in a way that is more public than simply flying around up in Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You know, they could have hovered a mothership over a city. They could have landed on the White House lawn. They could have done all the things that the skeptics and the scoffers.
There's no intelligent life there, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. Often talk. Well, and you know, they often talk about those things, but they haven't done it. So the others have a shared interest with the breakaway group in not making this a big public event. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to do it on our own. We're going to have to get to the bottom of it on our own.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, there's a reason for that, and it really makes sense, basically, is that, you know, it's very simple, basically. One is the majority of the people have either religious preferences or fear, a lot of fear, or whatever, and they would take up arms immediately. We fear change and the unknown, and anything along that level, we automatically put our defenses up. And the other thing is that we shoot at them. I mean, the program has been for so many years. If something's in our space and we don't know what it is, shoot it down, grab the technology back, engineer it for the war industry. So to me, it's like, why would there be any real purpose in appearing to people who are of that nature? It would just create more of a problem than it would be worse. So they would try to actually contact people of a more advanced nature. I would say people that were more spiritually advanced or more on a knowledgeable basis, people who are focused on service to humanity, the earth. Those are the type of people that they would be working with. Or just, you know, the common person. They would probably be working, you know, with some people that just weren't full of fear or programming or you know, any negative programming. So,
well, listen, I not to be a contrarian, because I don't dispute
what
you said, but it's a theory. You know, That's a theory that you're espousing, and there's ample reason to think that it's a credible theory. But in terms of hard facts, it's hard to this issue has been so smoke and mirrored over the years through disinformation that, you know, people within our own government have put out about the topic, but also what we've done to ourselves as people who want to know more about the truth of ufology. We have done a bad job. We have let our own people fake. You know, we fake things. We fight amongst each other. We're not supportive. We're not. There's been a lot of blame to go around, and I think what Richard and I are hoping will come out of not just our book, but other projects in the future, and you know, shows like yourself that you're doing, is we all have to kind of start getting on the same team here. Exactly. We have to figure out how to share our interests and spend a little less time splitting hairs and a little more time seeing the big picture. At least that's what we believe.
I got a standing ovation, I think it was in the 90s at the International UFO Conference, and after saying that, I said, look, nobody has the whole pie here. And I said, everybody is competing and fighting over whose truth is real. And, you know, you have the abduction people, the victim program, you have the nuts and bolts people, you know, you have they're just benign and observing, and then you have they're all friendly and happy, you know, and coming in to help us people. And I said, all of you have a piece of the pie. You have, because all the different groups have different agendas and there's different realities going on all at once, but until everybody puts their piece of the pie on the table and stops fighting,
and competing, we're never going to get the real story, the big picture. And people stood up and applauded on that one. And basically, that was the last time I spoke there.
Well, it's a rare thing to experience a standing ovation, so I applaud you myself for having one. That's a great thing.
And
I agree with what you said. I think the frustration for many of us over the years has been the big picture is pretty clear. Something's going on.
Oh, yeah.
But every time we try to bring it into focus, it muddies. And sometimes it muddies because of the things that we're doing to ourselves, and sometimes because other people are being paid to do them and to exploit our own weaknesses. So it's not a straight line, and it hasn't been. But we do think that once some form of even limited disclosure happens, disclosure is a little bit like being pregnant. You can't be a little pregnant.
Yeah.
Right? So you either are or you aren't, and the same as with disclosure. You either have disclosed something or you haven't. If you've disclosed a reality, no matter how much you may want to keep the details to yourself, eventually they will be unleashed. So, for example, if you did a limited disclosure of some kind to say, yes, we've been tracking these things for years, but the rest of it's classified, that wouldn't last very long, because at that point, the slumbering giant of our media would finally wake up, and they'd start doing their jobs, and it would become a big story. And even if it would take 10 years, the amount of knowledge that we have about this topic would be pretty much publicly shared by that point.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not right now. I mean, you may say that 80% believe that there may be a UFO ET reality. That doesn't mean they agree on any of the specifics.
Oh, no, they definitely don't. That was just the two questions that were asked. I tell you, coming from a reporter's perspective, you might say, I'm really curious about this. You might be able to shed some light on this.
Yeah.
But we've had ABC come up here, Fox News, the History Channel, Discovery Channel. All these guys have been up here. They've been given incredible footage, although it was sanitized. They took out the undeniable stuff that was just...
Well, why would they do that, in your opinion?
Good question. That's why I was going to ask.
What did they tell you? I mean, I can speculate, but I'd be curious first. What did they, when you said to any of these people, the producers who produced it, we gave you even better stuff, and you saw it with your own eyes, why did they say they didn't use it?
Basically, the common theme was we need to keep the suspense going. We need to keep a balanced story of good and, is this for real? And they want to keep it going. They don't want the slam dunk evidence there. They want to kind of just keep it going, because then you end the story. You end the suspense and everything else.
I find that curious. That's like a long. Let me put it this way: the actual producers on the ground, of which I have been in many cases.
Yeah.
I know that if I had great footage, I would lay down in front of a truck to get it in my story. Okay. So I would never, as the producer of the piece, take the position, gee, I want to keep the suspense going for my network so that they can keep this going. That would not be my idea. Somebody,
it gets clipped. What happens is they bring up the stuff, they put it all together, they send it in, and there's a guy in there, you know how that works, and they just start clipping the pieces out, and by the time it comes out, because they only have so many minutes to do this.
Yeah, but the rule of news is put your best stuff out there. So
no kidding.
My question is, the stuff that's being cut, what is it? What does it look like?
Well, it's, things landing on the mountain and morphing from 1 to 3 and then coming back together and taking off, and jets chasing these things. Just crazy stuff. Interacting with people on the ground, ships actually coming in and lighting up the whole sky and turning, and coming in right on cue, exactly when we told them it would come. These things came in. So Paranormal State did air that. They did air the fact that I told them exactly when and where the ship would appear, and they did get it on film. And they were the one group that actually did film that. But then they cut out a lot of the other paranormal stuff that was pretty awesome as well. I'm assuming you've put a lot of this footage up on YouTube and so forth. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take a look at some of this after we get off the air.